Hey guys, it's your boy PureX Enigma here for part two of my video. Thank you for all the support that you guys have shown for the first part. I don't matter how many views it gets there, as long as I put it out there, my chest is clear, my mind is clear. But uh, like I promised, I'll go more into depth with how part two is. And like I said, I don't want to do this just because I want to throw a sob story out there. I don't. I mean, if it raises awareness, it's also great. But I just want to share with my experience, and maybe somehow, some way, it can influence you guys or help you guys get more, knowledge based on this. But depression is something that not most people understand fully. It's not like it's contagious. Of course, it's not uh, something that you. Well, I mean, it can develop. It can be slowly shown up in your life through some dramatic event, but sometimes it just comes. It's a mental disorder that causes lots of things. You constantly have a voice in your head that may or may not be yours, but can be translated like it is yours, and kind of always puts you in moods that like you don't want to be in. I mean, so 1 second you can be happy, and then the next second, for all you know, you can just be bawling out sad. It just the tears come out. I mean, uh, you can't breathe straight. You can't. It's kind of mixed in with anxieties, and life just seems like a horrible place when it takes over, and it puts you in a very very horrible mood. It disorients you. It kind of just puts you in a place where you just don't want to be near anybody, and you feel like you can't be helped. And no matter how many people you can be in a room with, you feel completely 100% alone. And it just slowly starts diminishing your life energy out of you to a point where you just don't want to do anything. Uh, Going along with that, the other thing that it also kind of affects is your sleep schedule. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but when you live with depression, it you can kind of go two ways. You either sleep a whole lot, that's personally not my case. Mine is more like the second one, where you kind of don't really require that much sleep, and it sometimes causes like it could trigger insomnia to a point where like you want to sleep but you can't, or you feel like you have no other choice than to go to sleep, and then you kind of just stay awake for hours on end looking at a ceiling or just thinking about how much life is down right now. And it's a horrible effect, because if you want to go to sleep, sometimes in my case I'm awake and I have no other choice than to listen to what I have to say, or listen to what you know my mind has to say, or whatever just happens. You kind of think about things too much, and it's just it's horrible. It really is. It's you kind of go hours on end thinking and making something so small into something so huge, and next thing you know, your heart's beating, and you feel like just dropping down and crying, and you don't feel good, and it's horrible. Another type of effect, and this is something that also really affects me, is an excessive guilt, or like very low self-esteem. And I've never considered myself to be the best looking in the world. I've never considered myself to be good looking at all, if that's the case. But I'm at a point in my life where I lost 60 pounds. I finally got to grow out my hair, and my face is slimmed down and I can finally fit into my nice clothes again, and I guess I have a little bit better fashion than I used to, and I feel like personally I'm at a point in my life where I should feel happy with how I look, or happy with how I dress or anything, but it's just constantly there telling me that, hey, you, no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. And that's something huge that I always think about, because in my head it's just constant nonstop hatred on myself, and I constantly tell my girlfriend, hey, you can do better, hey, you can do better, I don't know what you see in me. And it's I think it's to a point where I believe that she might finally take my advice, even though that's not what I want. I personally try to bring myself up every day, but it just brings me back down. And I don't know, it's just something really hard to cope with when you should feel like you're enough, but you're not. And it's just constant sadness for yourself. You just feel sad, and you just wonder what more can you do to make yourself better, what more can you do to make yourself look better. I've thought about everything that I can do to make myself look better, but when people constantly tell me like, hey, you're handsome, or you're cute, or you're sexy, and it's like, or whatever. I mean, it's just like, no matter how much people tell you those things, it's never enough in your mind, when you should have at least the self confidence to accept it and just be like, hey, I'm not ugly, or I'm not handsome or beautiful or whatever. But it's, for me, it's just, it can easily be combinable, in my opinion, with like anorexia, where no, I've lost 60 pounds, and no matter how slimmer or how much more weight I'm losing, I always look at myself and I'm like, hey, I'm still fat. I'm not enough to be considered even good looking at all. So that's a huge part of my life that just is horrible to deal with, because I never want to dress up nice or dress up in, professional clothing ever, because I always have that ideology that, hey, I could look better and people will always look better than me, that I just flat out suck. Um, and it's horrible. It really is, because I consider myself, like, I try, but it's just, in my opinion, it's never gonna be good enough. Yeah. Um, Another thing, and now I don't really blame this, in my opinion, with with depression. I also have ADHD, and now this is where it kind of counteracts, because with ADHD, you're supposed to be hyperactive, you're supposed to be always moving around, you're supposed to always fidgety, which I am. My hands are always constantly moving. I always have to have, my mind is always racing. I always have things in my head. Uh, Sometimes it's just like, when I'm not going through an anxiety episode or a depressional episode, it's just like my mind is always everywhere. I'm always thinking about a million things, and always fidgeting with my hands, and always like, I like to grab things, I like to do things with just in general. And but I don't really blame it on much on depression. I can also think about ADHD when it comes to just low concentration or worse concentration. But you can tell when it's not, uh, when you can tell when it's a depressional episode, because bad thoughts come into your head. You just feel like you're the worst person in the world. You feel so alone. You constantly think about the negatives more than the positives. It Your mind just crumbles into one giant ball of hatred for yourself. And I don't say hatred like you're gonna kill yourself, or well, in some cases it can, but it for me, it's just to a point where it distracts me because I'm just sad and I feel alone, and it just makes me not want to focus on things because I just want to get to a point of the day where I can finally concentrate on something that I love instead of something that just brings me down. Which brings me to my other point, which is it can sometimes cause you low energy or just a change in self care. Um, when you and like I said, it's funny because with ADHD, I'm supposed to be hyperactive, but then like there's a moment in the day when I'm gonna go through where I can feel myself just slowly starting to turn down, and I don't know what's going on, and then next thing you know, I'm just horrible to be around because I'm sad or I'm mad or it causes a lot of mood swings, and it just brings you to a point. There's sometimes where I just go home and all I can think about is just laying down in bed and just not do anything because I just want to feel sorry for myself. And it's horrible because the only person, it makes you feel like the only person you can trust and you can judge is yourself. And the judgments are not the best thing in the world. It's always something not good. Uh, Depression can be kind of like attached to anxiety. I think depression causes anxiety. I think anxiety causes depression. I think they're one and the same. They're really similar because an anxiety episode it's also horrible because you just feel like you're alone and you can't control what's happening to you, and you start breathing heavily. You start like you just feel like you can't like even coexist with life at that certain moment in time, and then next thing you know it can cause you to be sad because you don't know what's causing your anxiety. You don't know why you're feeling anxious. Sometimes it's just like something that triggers your anxiety, and it at the end of the day everybody's solution is just take medications for both, or take medications in general, or it's horrible because even sometimes when you're depressed you start to think too much about one certain aspect in your life, and next thing you know it triggers an anxiety episode because all you can think about is that one thing that you're blowing out of proportion, and it's so fucking horrible to live with this. And I makes me like currently right now I believe that me and my girlfriend have a chance at fixing this, but it gets to a point where my depression takes over, and then I get anxious, and I feel like it's just the end of the world, and I don't know what other steps or measures to take to make things better. And the last thing is suicidal thoughts. Lots of people always judge others for committing suicide, or feeling like suicide is your only escape. And I don't want to say that it is, because there's always something to live for, but trust me guys, it gets that bad to a point where you feel like that is the only step you can take to happiness. And I feel bad for all the people that have taken this measure and have done the unthinkable. But me personally, I did try years ago, like, and it's not fun, guys. It really isn't. So don't ever make fun of anybody for killing themselves. It's until you can actually step into their mind and think why they did it, or actually sit back and think what caused it. It's a challenge to try to think in a way that you don't think, but out of all the things that I just said today, just try to realize and see how bad it can get. And I'm lucky and I'm happy that I'm still here fighting to live. I'm still here. I'm glad that I'm still able to fight to see another day, fight to get happy again. And like I mentioned in my other video, have something to fight for. I want to change. I want to cope with this. I want to overcome this. I want to make depression my bitch if I can. Because at the end of the day, I have somebody to fight for, and eventually more to fight for. It doesn't get easier, guys. But I think anybody who has made it easier for me, who has helped me out throughout the way, and thank you guys for all your support. For now, I'm going to end it right here. Pure X Enigma signing off. Stay tuned till the next one, guys. Thank you.